What's up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here, and currently I'm actually on vacation over in Florida, which is why I don't have my typical hat. I actually forgot to bring it, but while I was here, I decided to watch the rather incredible Game Awards 2019. Now, typically in the past, these have been a little bit hit or miss. Some have been spectacular, and some have been much more lame. This one, of course, I had to tune into because pretty much everybody was thinking that, well, Death Stranding would win every single award, and I think that this was much more even than I expected. Pretty much everybody across the board got a lot of good credit. Sekiro was considered Game of the Year. I have to say that Fighting Game of the Year being Smash Bros. Ultimate made a ton of sense. There was so much stuff I was happy about and sad about, but the biggest thing that definitely grabbed my attention was the fact that we finally saw some actual PlayStation 5 gameplay and the reveal of an all-new Xbox. I mean, this is monumental stuff that's definitely going to be basically groundbreaking and talked about until 2020 when we finally actually play these things. Now, first and foremost, I want to talk about the Xbox because we kind of expected that it would be cool looking or something. I mean, this is the next gen, but I don't think that anybody could have actually predicted that the Xbox next series is actually called the Xbox Series X. I mean, this is such a peculiar name, but I definitely think there have been a lot of leaks and rumors about the fact that the next generation of Microsoft hardware is going to be much more unilateral. Basically, the idea is that instead of having just one Xbox One, they're going to launch with multiple kinds. One of the things is they're talking about a cheapo version called Lockhart, which will be like a purely digital next-gen Xbox, and a super powerful Anaconda edition, like a super powerful one. The fact that right out of the gate they're showing us a giant box that basically looks like a huge loaf of bread, and their loaf of bread is basically going to be, you know, super next-gen. The thing I loved about the reveal is they showed a freaking game. Microsoft needs exclusives. Game Pass is fantastic. Yes, they have the best controller, but you need to have games to sell consoles. And yo diggity dog, did I love the reveal of Senua Saga. It is Hellblade 2. Now, obviously, I'm a big fan of Ninja Theory, but wozers, this is some truly next-gen graphics. And I think it's definitely getting me excited about the idea that Microsoft is finally realizing what they did wrong this generation. They've been purchasing a bunch of game studios in anticipation for what's coming over the horizon, this next gen. So the fact that they're already working on so many games, and they were very clear to talk about how they're already working on tons more, this is very, very exciting. Now let's talk real quickly about the PlayStation 5 game they revealed called, what was it? It had such a peculiar name. Godfall. This is a confirmed PlayStation 5 game, and the trailer itself was cool, like cryptic mythology. It's sort of like a twist of like Christian lore with lots of like angels and demons and clashing. And after they did the reveal itself, the developers came out to give us a little tease as to what the game would be, because this was obviously just a cinematic trailer. The game is apparently going to be called, they refer to it as a slasher looter. So immediately what comes to mind is the idea of like Borderlands 3 with blades. Okay, so who knows what it'll actually turn out to be, but they're saying that this is apparently going to be a launch game for the PlayStation 5. The opening catalog is already definitely getting filled out. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the reveals they did, because they talked a lot about different stuff. They talked about tons and tons of downloadable content apparently coming to League of Legends, which is obviously one of the most played games in the world, but the thing to me that definitely grabbed my attention was the fact that we're getting another Bravely Default, and it's called Bravely Default 2, which is weird because we kind of got a Bravely Default 2 in End Layer. There was so much stuff. Let's see here. I have all my notes here. I like that they showed a bunch about Ghosts of Tsushima. Now, this has always been a game that's been on my radar. I've been very, very excited for, obviously, a samurai slasher. That's great. But they were very, very clear to say that this is a PlayStation 4 release, so we're probably going to be seeing that next year. Now that we're coming up to the very end of the PlayStation 4's life cycle, this is the time period where we're going to see the most beautiful games and typically with the deepest mechanics. So in just as pure guess, I'm betting that next year we're only going to get 2 PlayStation 4 games, and that's going to be Last of Us and Ghosts. Now that we've seen a bigger look and a deeper dive on Ghost of Tsushima, this trailer gives us a lot more look about the combat, the fluidity, which is certainly much more in the vein of like Batman Arkham Asylum style beat and rhythm. The biggest thing is, though, now we understand that the story is going to be very much a classic revenge story. It looks like it's going to be like a fallen warrior trying to chase down his demons of the battlefield. All of that looks so freaking tasty. On the topic though of the Game Awards itself, I actually want to give a giant compliment to Jeff Keighley. Just in general, I think that this was definitely the smoothest of the Game Awards. They did a lot more of the awards in a logical sense, that it was kind of just award, reveal, award, instead of just being such a terrible juxtaposition. But more than that, I actually like that they got a good sponsor. Obviously, the Game Awards costs millions of dollars to put on. This is a giant stadium. A lot of these guests were flown out. They need sponsors. I'm not some dummy that thinks that this should not have the ads and all that. But I have to say that a lot of times in the past when they had like Schick Hydrobot, just so many of these have been cringy ads that didn't really fit the demographic. The fact that Magic the Gathering Arena, which I'm never going to play because I don't really care about card games, the fact that a real game actually funded the Game Awards this year, that makes logical sense. Now let's talk a little bit about the awards themselves. Let's talk about who won and who lost. So, here I wrote down a bunch. Best Fighting Game, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Best Narrative is Disco Elysium. This also won Best RPG. Devil May Cry won Best Action Game. Best Game Direction was Death Stranding, which was actually one of the few awards that Death Stranding actually won, much to my shock. And then Apex Legends winning Best Multiplayer Game of the Year. I think that definitely Call of Duty should have won. Modern Warfare has a much deeper set of mechanics, better upgrades, in pretty much every way. I think that as much as I respect what Apex Legends was, Call of Duty was a better game. Gears Tactics was shown, but the biggest award that I think personally annoyed me was they had a category this year for Best Ongoing Gaming Experience, which is typically their way of saying, like, best patches, best updates, best games that are really supposed to make you continually entertained. They gave it to Fortnite. Now look, Fortnite has made like $80 trillion. I understand that it's an incredibly lucrative business, but that absolutely should have gone to Final Fantasy XIV. The new Final Fantasy XIV expansion is so big and so beautiful and so well written and has some of the best freaking music. The fact that it did not get even a nod, to me, is a big disappointment. There's been so much great stuff. I took so many notes in this, but really I have to say that the biggest winner of all is definitely Reggie Fils-Aimé. The ex-executive of Nintendo came out on stage to do a little talk about what it's been like since he left the business, and he basically gave a really heartfelt talk saying how much he loves this industry, how much he loves being a gamer, even if it's not his job anymore, and he gave a really special shout out to Satoru Iwata, rest in peace. And it really kind of struck a nerve to me as to just how much love there is. I really liked the fact that they really kind of, this Game Awards was so much more about passion instead of just trophies. They really kind of managed to come out on stage and say, this is about the developers, this is about the gamers, this is about everybody coming together to try and do the best things possible. And I'm very, very glad that it came out this way. And of course, the biggest loser is Google Stadia. There were multiple Google Stadia commercials during this that had me laughing because chat was roasting them hosts so hard. Every time Google Stadia would come up, people were spamming F's in the chat to pay their respects to the fallen, because Stadia is already such a flop. And what's funny is that all the commercials were very long and drawn out, and they all kind of said the same thing, which is like, this is better than physical media. You don't need no dumb boxes. It's all in the cloud. I mean, it's funny because obviously Stadia is already out here now, and we realize that every promise it made was heartfelt. It was completely gone. I mean, it's not 60 frames a second, even though they said it about 1 million times in the commercials, up to 4K, turned out to be pure BS. It's funny to see them advertising such an already dead product. I have to say that I liked so much of what they showed at the Game Awards. So much of the stuff, the reveals were so fantastic. So many really good games got the credit they deserve, even if they were tiny indie experiences like Grease. I like that it just came together a lot better. There was some stuff that still wasn't great. I still think some bad games managed to win great awards, but the fact that we're finally getting our first peek of the next generation definitely spells that some big things are in store. But what do you think? Did you get a chance to watch this, well, incredibly long 3-hour presentation of big reveals? Did you see that epic new trailer for the Final Fantasy VII Remake? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I know I'm not wearing my typical hat, but this has been Dreamcastguy. Be sure to smash that subscribe button ring the bell and all that other malarkey. You guys rock. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go back to enjoying my vacation and maybe trying some mixed drink with whatever the heck this is. Thanks so much for watching. Keep dreaming. Oh, let me tilt the camera. You can see. I think Dreamcastguy is asleep in the background. Oh, wait, where is it? Oh, no, she's asleep. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.